Welcome to Hermit Woods, where there's a story in every bottle. Is it Sunday? Is it Sunday or,
Sunday.
or Tuesday?
Sunday.
Maybe it's Tuesday.
It's Monday.
Is it Wednesday? Oh, Monday.
What other day would it
possibly
be?
a Monday. We're here together.
We're at the bar
drinking
again.
wine at the bar. It can't be a Monday.
This is
I think
great.
it must be a Monday.
You know, every Monday I get to hang out at the bar with my best friends
This is awesome.
and drink wine and eat
Yeah.
great food and share it with all of our friends out there. Well,
Great.
it's great. So,
And Chuck is joining us remotely. I saw him show up.
yeah, he'll be
on that, so
in
he's
there. There he
watching.
is. Hi, Chuck.
Oh, very good.
Glad you could join us. So a couple things before we get started. Just want to let everybody know, I know most of you already know this already, but if you're new to this broadcast, we want you to...
We start right with wine, first thing.
Oh,
Oh, did I interrupt? Sorry.
I forgot. There's no wine in the glass. We'll explain that soon.
In a
but
moment, yeah.
Let's get to some of the details. So if you're on YouTube, we'd love it if you'd subscribe to our page and you'll get notice of all of our live broadcasts. Same with Facebook. You can actually subscribe to our live broadcasts and you'll get notice of those as well. We do a live broadcast every Monday at 5:30. We explore all kinds of topics related to wine, food. We certainly have a focus. Olives, yes.
All sorts of things.
We have a focus of certainly Hermit Woods wine, but it's not exclusive to our wine. We really want to shine a spotlight on the wine world in general, other wineries in New Hampshire, other wineries around the world, actually. We've had wineries from South Africa here on Mondays.
Yeah.
So lots of interesting topics.
Next week, is it next week that we're going to do Cody with the
No,
Napa, or is
no.
that the week after?
Next week, we're going to have John Lorenz
Oh,
here,
that's right. Sorry.
and
Yes.
he's going to talk to
About
us
music.
about music.
Yes.
And what are we going to do with this beautiful space and the music
The
venue?
beautiful piano we have back
Yeah,
there.
so I can't wait.
That's
John's
great.
going to
That's
play
excellent.
he's going to play some piano for us.
Oh, cool.
Excited about that. We have to mic the piano for that so we can really hear a nice sound.
That's
But anyway, I'm
Yep.
getting sidetracked. So if you're watching, please let us know by liking the show, sharing with your friends. If you think there's someone else out there that you think would benefit from what we have to share at these Monday night shows. And also, if you have comments or questions, we'd love it if you'd share them. We try as best we can to answer your questions while we're here live. And if we can't get to them live, we will get to them after the show, again, as best we can.
Yeah.
But that's the best part of the show is we get to interact with all these people out there. So,
Yeah. And the more the merrier. I think that's so many people will follow things that are word of mouth or other people that they trust and know, or friends through Facebook or on YouTube and the rest of it. And a lot of people like food. They like wine. They like some form of fun, interactive entertainment. So the more we're able, all of you out there now, our core people, the more we can spread this out, the more interaction we'll get, which just adds to the party, which would be great.
And it's so much fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes,
we've
it
been
is.
doing this. We've done this all
Now, this
over,
is-
all over New England. We've done this broadcast from sailboats.
From a dock in Maine.
From a
on this
dock
little
in
island.
Maine.
Yeah.
So who knows?
From a
where we
chairlift.
go. And I met with Fortuna Sausage, who makes
yeah.
some of the fine meats we sell here in the deli. We actually drove over and did a broadcast from her shop in Manchester, Vermont, and we met with John Moulton. So there's so much fun stuff to do. So what are we doing today?
Well, this is a virtual tasting, right? Once a month.
Yes, once a month.
Not only do we get to taste together, but hopefully there are some people out there that knew about this event and had acquired one or more of these wines that we're trying tonight so that we could compare and contrast and talk about it. We did that with Phil Plummer once. Remember, he sent some wines out from upstate New York to try those while he was describing his notes, his ideas about what went into each one of the wines.
So let me expand on that a little bit more. We've already posted a schedule. If you go to our website and you go to the events section, there's a Facebook Live event tab. And on that tab tells you all of the wine tasting events we're going to do for the next several months. So if you want to have these wines available to share with us while we're broadcasting live, you can know what we're going to be tasting over the next few months and have them available to yourself and prepare for it. So because we're going to do every third Monday of every month is a wine tasting. And we're going to taste some of Hermit Wood's collection of wines, talk about them, and if you have them at home, you can join in. And
or you could have a small party at your own house or place,
Right.
and invite some friends over and open up a bottle of wine and have the people who made the wine talking to you about that particular wine.
And ask questions about it through our. So let's check in with our audience before we go any further, and
Sounds
we'll switch over here to the.
I'm still going to sip some wine.
I haven't even had a sip yet. I should have some. Cheers! It's Monday. We're at the bar together.
Yeah, very good. I love this wine. This is our Heirloom Crabapple. Today we're tasting 3 different rosé wines, and this is the first is our Heirloom Crabapple.
And we're going to talk more about that just a second. But let's just check in and see who we got. We got a bunch of people who've joined us, so it's great. Lynn Dinette's joined us. We love having you, Lynn. You and Matt every week. It's such a great joy to see you. Matt's there with us as well, and Matt says dinner with Bob.
Yeah, dinner and wine with Bob.
Yeah, and Ken. What Ken Hardcastle's on too? Look at that.
How about that?
Yeah. Hi all. Let's see. Chuck's here. Don't worry, Dinette. Matt Dinette. He's here, and Janice is here. And thank you, Janice, for sharing that paper, the Portland paper, with us the other day. That was really great. And let's see. We got Gary Parker. Oh, good.
Hey,
Gary's
Gary.
here. Sorry you missed us last week. We had a fun show. It's up online. You can watch it if you want to go back and see what we talked about.
Do all the shows end up online?
They do. They're all on our.
Okay, good.
They're on our Facebook.
I know you were working towards that.
Sometimes a week or two
Okay.
late, but they're all up there now.
I didn't know if that's an automatic process. Or
No,
do you
I have to go and
post-process
set
it?
it up.
Yeah, so.
Oh, look at that. Mark Leclerc is joining us.
Really, Mark?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hey, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. I hope you're still there. And for all of you out there, Mark Leclerc is the owner, and he was actually interviewed on one of our shows. He's the owner of Seven Birches Winery.
and winemaker.
And winemaker.
And
marketer. He does everything.
Yes, he does it all.
How does he do
One
it?
guy. I have no idea.
I mean, I don't know how we do it. And we have
agree.
3 of us.
No. He does it all.
Cheers
himself.
to you, Mark.
Yeah,
Hey,
Mark.
to Mark.
Mark.
Because he's killing it over there at Seven Birches.
Yes, Seven Birches.
If you haven't been, Seven Birches Winery is in Lincoln, New Hampshire. They have a couple locations. There's one located right in the hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. The brand new hotel. Yes, no, Mark. And we'll let everyone know. There's also another location located in town. Main Street.
That's in that same.
It's an area
Same.
in the shopping center
It's in the shopping center.
as you enter the hotel. So anyway, if you haven't been to Seven Birches, we highly recommend him. We love Mark and everything he does.
And
there.
Mark, no excuses this coming winter, skiing with us.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
I know you got a lot on your plate, but.
And look who else is here. Lynn is here.
All right. Excellent.
Oh, wait. Oh, I thought it was another Lynn. Sorry, Lynn. Yeah, well, I said hi already.
Yeah, we knew Len was here.
And
That's not L.I.
Yeah, I was thinking we were. Yeah. So that's it. So great.
Excellent.
So we're talking about rosés today.
Yep.
And we'll switch cameras over here.
Yeah. One of the things I love about rosé wines, whether they're from Provence or Washington State or South Africa, they're a wonderful food-friendly beverage. They're so versatile. You can have just about anything with them. They're typically on the drier side, but some go towards a sweeter sort of format in rosé. So we're not talking about Sutter Home, but I think most rosés tend to be on that dry side. And it's for those of you who like red wine and those of you who like white wine, this is the combination. So this is a very small skin contact format for a classic rosé wine here. Just to set the stage, if I may, for grape-based rosé wines. A lot of the grapes that we make our wines from, Merlot, Cabernet, Cab Franc, Zinfandel, Grenache, those have a dark skin, purple skin to them, but the inside produces a clear juice. And so you can pick a Pinot Noir and quickly squeeze off clear juice and make champagne out of it.
And you ferment the juice.
Just the juice.
Right.
Blanc de Noir. And it's clear.
Yeah.
If you take that same grape, that Pinot Noir grape, and you crush it and macerate it and ferment on the skins, very slowly the color, the pigments, the anthocyanins leach out of the skins into the liquid, creating a red wine.
Right.
Now, if you pick those same grapes, that Pinot Noir, and you crush them up and you let them sit there for an hour or two.
Or ferment them. Don't they ferment for the first day on the skins? Don't they allow the fermentation process?
They're usually not.
No,
they're usually not.
Okay.
That I know of. And things have changed. I mean, yes, most wines are made with the yeast that's on the grapes. So fermentation is already started.
Okay.
Because the grapes are there and the yeast is there. But the yeast are just starting to acclimate. They're going through their lag phase. So they're not actually converting sugars yet for 24 hours.
So the color is really coming from the maceration.
The color comes from the maceration, and it usually just takes a few hours. Some grapes are much darker skinned, so it happens more rapidly. Some are very light skinned, so it can go a little bit longer. The trend, especially recently in the last 5 years, is to make just the faintest touch of pink color to the rosé. You get Provence rosés, you see them, they're getting lighter and lighter in color. So anyway, you let some of the color bleed out, some of the character of the red wines that we enjoy come into the juice, and then you ferment just the juice. So you end up with that crisp, mouth-watering character of a typical white wine, yet you end up with some of that deeper flavor profile that we enjoy in a red wine. That's what I just love rosés.
I remember discovering that for the first time, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, when somebody taught me for the first time about how a rosé, it was like a moment for me, because it is so amazing. So the idea, and a lot of people at the tasting bar will say, so what makes a rosé? And I say, well, it's the color. Yeah. It's nothing more than the color. Right. It's that small amount of time that you referred to where the color of the skin actually imparts color into the wine, and you get a rosé. Yeah. And I remember being just amazed. And I still, to this day, I just love that fact that it's as simple as that. It's as simple as this is just an extraction of some of the character and flavor from the skins and giving it some color. Right. And another story, and I'm going to add to this. So this goes back to the, so I'm always the one to speak to the marketing side of things. So I find this fascinating as well. 20 years ago, rosés were sort of poo-poo. Especially if you're in my generation, if you're in our generation.
That's what did it.
Well, it's not Sutter Home.
White Zinfandel.
White Zinfandel.
Well, that was, and they were the bigger maker of it. But
they used to make probably more White Zinfandel in California than any other wine in the state.
So here's another.
So what happened with that?
Well, I think as time went on and people gained a palate and appreciation for finer wines, they typically move from sweeter to drier.
Yes.
And so when you have a sweeter wine, it tends to collapse the aromatics and the flavor profile, and it doesn't pair as well with food. It's too heavy. It's too sweet. It's tiring. It makes you thirsty.
Right.
A nice, dry, well-balanced wine is thirst quenching and works perfectly with the acids in your mouth, with your saliva, to help digest your foods. And so you eat a piece of pizza or a piece of cheese and wash it down with some wine. You're ready for more.
Yeah.
It's a perfect blend. And here's one more thing I just wanted to say too. One of the moves from a practical standpoint as a winemaker, especially in New World wines, trying to build big, powerful red wines. When you pick your Cabernet grapes, you can take those grapes and crush them up, and you bleed off some of the juice,
Free run.
which becomes rosé. You bleed it off after a couple hours, but what that leaves is a greater skin to juice ratio in your main batch, and you make a lower volume but a much more intense Cabernet. So that's the saignée process of bleeding off some of the wine that doesn't go into your premier red wine. And that's been used for a long time to make a more powerful, impactful red. So it's not only creating a really nice wine, but it can be just simply a byproduct of trying to make a really high quality, impactful red.
Well, let me add another spin to this, and I'm just guessing here. I don't know. I have not done
I
research.
love
on
how this
specific.
can just roll out here. We haven't even talked about these
We'll get there.
rosés
Yeah,
yet.
no, we'll get there. But it's interesting because we've talked about this before. Napa in the 50s and 60s made a bunch of sweet wine. Napa was not known for world class wines. If you drank wine in the 50s or 60s, you drank European wines, not Napa wines. And it was a slow transition that really occurred over the early 70s to the early 80s, where Napa started to take wine more seriously. And I think the same is consistent with the American wine consumer. The American wine consumer was used to drinking American wine that was sweeter. And when they drank California wine, it was generally sweet. So this transition to these big red dry wines that are coming out of California today.
You have to educate the palate of the people.
And so this white Zinfandel, and if you don't know, Zinfandel is one of those really big red wines.
Massive red, yes.
Yeah. So it was. I'm guessing that this was sort of the white Zinfandel was the Californians winemakers' way of bringing people along. So introducing Zinfandel in a white Zinfandel.
In other words, Bob is saying this is the gateway drug to big dry red wine.
Exactly. Exactly. And it was also the rosé killer.
Yeah.
Because of that, people all of a sudden frowned upon serious wine drinkers were like, oh, we can't drink rosé because it's sweet, it's unidimensional, it's this white Zinfandel. And that was for the non-enthusiast wine drinker that really drank white Zinfandel. So that brought down the French rosés. It brought down all the really great rosés in the world. All of a sudden, were being poo-pooed by Americans.
And you couldn't get them up until 10 years ago. You went into a liquor store, a normal sort of average liquor store. There weren't a lot of choices in rosé, dry rosé.
The French wanted to be part of this market.
And now you go to the state liquor store here in New Hampshire, and you see a bank of rosés. And it's fantastic. And especially on warm days, just about any weather, any sort of food, rosé goes really, really well.
Yeah. So that's some great background.
That's
now we got to talk about that, because now we're going to talk a little bit about our rosés.
Yeah, this is a different.
While you're
rosé.
pouring that, I'm gonna switch over and check in on our guests here and see if we got any questions. Let's see. Do you think the change of preference comes with age, Ken? Lynn wants to know. I'm not sure.
That's a good question, Lynn.
Yeah.
I think it probably does. It takes time to mature your palate, so you're naturally a little older than you were before. So in general, on average, it's like black coffee drinkers. Most people who start drinking coffee in their teen years or something will often use milk and sugar. And as they reach for richer and more satisfying coffee that takes time. They acclimate their palate. They're a few years older than when they first started drinking coffee.
And I've actually been told this, I think from reputable sources, so I don't know who they are at the moment, but when you're young, your taste buds are really bright, and intense flavors are more difficult to understand as a young palate. But as you get older, your taste buds, just like the rest of us, your muscles and everything else, start to...
Is that why we like Scotch more when we get older?
Yes, it's absolutely true.
We
So as
want
you
that
get older,
more
you
intense
need
drink.
more intense. Your taste buds are tired. They've been working hard all their life.
Wake up.
You need to wake them up. So more intense reds, whiskeys come at a later age. When you're younger, you want something sweeter, something more easy to accept
Southern
with
comfort.
your palates. Yeah, Southern comfort. Sweet whiskey. So it's the same with whiskey. Yeah.
It's the same thing.
So.
Yeah. How about that?
Let's see. So I think that answers your question, Lynn. And
That's a good question. That's
Chuck
really-
says 9.9% of U.S. wine sales is white Zinfandel, says Google.
Oh,
Wow, still
wow,
a big seller.
still. Well, they're young people being born all the time, right? They're growing up. They're starting off with that gateway drug.
So Mark writes, we tried CS, I can't even pronounce that.
Seigneur.
Seigneur. Oh, you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. This year. What is CS Seigneur?
CS Seigneur.
He's strutting his,
Juice ended up too dark.
he's
We
strutting
waited
his,
too long.
he's strutting his stuff here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, Mark Leclerc, the winemaker, is asking, we're talking about, they did a Seigneur, bleeding off to make it a darker, more intense red wine. Oh, CS, he probably means Cab Sauv.
Ah, yeah.
So they're trying to make a more intense Cabernet Sauvignon and let off the juice, but they waited too long. Again, that's a dark grape.
Yep.
It will darken up that juice, and you end up with a rosé that looks like a thin red wine instead of a rosé.
Greg.
It's a great process, right? To learn new things.
Oh, it is. It is. So Greg, I think he's misunderstanding me. Maybe, I don't know. He says I'm slamming California wines again. And that's not the case.
No, not at all.
Not at
No,
all.
Greg.
I love
Definitely
California wines. There's some really wonderful California wines out there. But I'm really trying to talk to the transition. You know, in the 50s and 60s, California wines were not well respected. And if I'm wrong there, please let me know where to learn more about that. Because that's my understanding, is that California wines were not well respected in the 50s and 60s. And until Robert Mondavi really put the spotlight on big, dry red wines and started sharing his ideas with other winemakers in California,
right.
that transition started to happen.
Right.
And California became well respected starting in the 1976 with the Judgment of Paris.
Yep.
And then the years following that, people started to understand that really wonderful, amazing wines can be produced in California. And today, Napa is considered by far one of the greatest wine regions in the world. It's up there with Bordeaux and all of the Italian and Australian winemakers that have been making wine for hundreds of years.
They get tremendous dollar for their products, and they're unique on the planet for what they have in growing environment. That's
Absolutely.
what Mondavi recognized and started off with those Bordeaux character. In Bordeaux, France, it's once or twice a decade, they might have those perfect growing conditions.
Right.
All the way through Verizon and to the moment when you need to pick those grapes. Perfect balance of acid and sugar,
Yep.
full phenolic ripeness, and you pick them. In California, that happens almost every single year.
Right. And that's what Robert Mondavi
Yeah.
really pointed out to all the growers in the areas, that we really can grow some world-class grapes
And
in this
he
environment.
was right, because
And he
now
was
they
right.
are world-class.
Yes.
Recognized around the world.
And I'm not sure what your comment about going to have to try some sweet wines from California. I'm not a big fan of sweet wines just in general, so I don't generally drink sweet wines from California, although I will
Not
go back
opposed
to
to any wine.
Sutton, not opposed to any wine, but Sutton Home's White Zinfandel is not high on my list when I go to the supermarket. So that particular sweet wine, and I don't want to bash anybody, but it's just not my style. That's not the kind of wine I like to drink.
But it's obviously very popular.
It's very popular. Chuck said 9.9%. So,
But that's your
thanks.
gateway. That's your gateway drug. I mean, that is
Yeah.
that opens up. That's the coffee with the sugar and milk in it, and eventually you get to that fresh roasted French press or something.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to meeting you, Greg, someday and having this conversation in person. But by no means am I slamming Big Red California wines. I drink many of them. Look forward to it.
Oh,
so.
Yes.
Very good. And of course, Gary Parker says rosé all day. Everybody knows that, right?
Yes.
Or
rosé.
Matt says he never didn't like Scotch or mead.
I like Matt more and more. He's got the right perspective
He
on
does.
everything here.
Look, so Greg's teasing, and Chuck says he got my goat. I love this. This is great. So let's get back to what we're talking to here. We're going to talk about rosés. This is a wine tasting. I like to start a wine tasting with a little bit about the appreciation side. I'll be brief.
Please do
let's
that.
talk about that.
Please do that.
I mean,
I'll help out by sipping.
Yeah, sip some wine. There's a lot more to this, and I'm going to go quickly because I think most of our audience today is experienced masters, but appreciation of wine. When we're doing a wine tasting, I want you to think about a couple things. Swirl the wine. That expands the surface area of the wine. It allows more aromatics to come off of the wine and fill the globe, the
get to see it
bowl
too,
of the glass.
especially in
And you can smell it as it actually
Rosés.
escapes off the top.
rosés, especially. They're typically filtered as this one is for a nice bright sparkle, and it's just a beautiful wine.
So that's part of it. Is you want to look at the wine, make sure that the wine has the right color for what you're expecting to drink, that it's clear. If it's supposed to be a clear or have good clarity, that's another measure that we look at. And most importantly, swirling it achieves a greater aroma in the glass, so you can really get a sense of the aroma of the wine. So I always suggest you spend some time with that, and not just swirling the wine and sticking your nose in and then drinking it. Take a moment to think about, what am I smelling? Start putting names to what it is you're smelling. Put some labels to it. It doesn't matter what the experts say. All that matters is what you say. What do you smell when you smell that wine? So take a moment to smell the wine and come up with what you think this aroma represents for you.
Does anybody have the wines out there? Anybody here have our heirloom crabapple at home? Chime up. See if
Yeah,
anybody
let
has
us know.
the crabapple.
So Mark actually said he wants us to talk about non-grape rosés, which is exactly what we're about to do.
That's what we're doing. We're doing non-grape rosé. So let me talk about that, if I may, for a moment.
Yeah.
About this wine, about all three of these rosés. These are our main rosé wines. The first one here that we're having is our heirloom crabapple. The first batch of this was 2007, I think. So it was quite a while ago. And
that was the mountain bike ride that we canceled?
It was the famous mountain bike ride. The way the story goes, although the people who were there remember it differently, Bob and Chuck and I don't even know if Chuck was there, actually.
He wasn't there.
He wasn't there.
No.
Okay. So anyway.
Can we agree on that as part of the story?
I don't know. It's all loose. It's all,
Maybe Chuck will tell us.
Constant movement. Yeah, I'm sure he will. Anyway, Bob, early in 2006, 2007, Bob and Chuck and I got into exploring wines and making wines from grapes that we imported from California and elsewhere. And then it sort of dawned on us that we could make wine out of just about anything. So I had a whole new set of glasses on my face, and I'm looking for anything that I could make a delicious alcoholic beverage out of. I was like, wow, we're surrounded by, potent potables here eventually. And I'm going over for a mountain bike ride at Bob's house, and the first place that we had our winery. And he has a little decorative tree growing in his front yard, beautiful flowers in the springtime, and then these little crab apples, about the size of a small plum, beautiful bright red with a touch of peach color to them. And I picked one of these things and bit into it, and it just lit up my mouth with bright, acid apple, intense apple, and then cheek puckering, dry, grippy tannins, like a big California Zinfandel or Cabernet. And I'm like, wow, we've got tannins here, we've got acidity, we've got sugars. Let's make wine out of this stuff.
Yeah.
And that is the origin
We skipped the mountain bike
our
ride.
heirloom. Well, I think we went on the ride. You think we skipped it. Anyway, we picked apples, we chopped them up, we fermented them, and this is made like a red wine. Red wine, as we were talking about before, you ferment the whole fruit, the skins, the seeds, the juice, everything that's there. This crabapple wine is made the same way. We get these, it's a very special type of crabapple that goes into this wine. We didn't know it at the time. We just thought you had the ultimate tree growing in your front yard. It's like, woo, look at this stuff. This makes good wine. But it turns out it's called a Dolgo crabapple. Came from Kazakhstan, is where a lot of apples originated from.
They say almost all of them.
All the apples came from Kazakhstan. And came into this country in the 17 or 1800s for people who were making hard cider. They knew when they threw a few handfuls of this in with their batch of apples that they were crushing to make apple cider, it would make a brighter, more flavorful, interesting apple wine. So this was originally used for making hard cider, and we craft a wine out of it, and our hard cider has Dolgo crab apples in it. But that's the story behind this. There's an addition of some blueberries to sort of fill out the palate
So this
to
is-
help protect the color.
So that's kind of an interesting twist because
Yeah.
we ferment on the skins and it's with bright red skin. So you think you're going to get a bright red wine, but for whatever reason, the pigment in those skins doesn't fix in the wine
Yeah.
very well.
Right.
So we found that when we filtered the wine, we got this sort of pale orange that
Right.
wasn't that appealing. So that's when you discovered a little bit of blueberry
Right.
fixes
And
that.
this vintage, actually, this 19 vintage is on the orange side, and it's because in 2019 we had a tremendous crop of Dolgo crab apples. We had been hoping every year for more and more crab apples, and Chuck has made connections with a number of farmers, and they all came in with more crab apples than we knew what to do with. And we made a tremendous amount, and I had set aside enough blueberries for about half the crab apples that we were working on. And so this ended up not being as bright and pink as usual in form. But that's some of the details of this.
So what makes this a rosé is simply it's the color
To me,
of a
it's
rosé.
it's both the color and the flavor profile.
Right.
Each one of these is made completely differently, and we're going to sample through all three of them. But they're all rosé-like wines. They have that same sweet and sour, balanced, bright acidity, really good pairing with foods, sort of profile that most people, I think, find in their rosés. Now, one of the things that I want to do today that is really unique and interesting. Some of you saw a comment by a guy, Greg Farley, who's a friend of mine that I grew up with long ago, that we've reconnected through this Facebook Live thing. Greg has made wine, powerful red wines in California grapes out there, and is a real food enthusiast. And Greg has crafted his own olives in California and sent a jar of these to us. And so we have no idea if these will pair well with a rosé, but I'm sure it's going to pair well with a
It's time
rosé
to
more than
find out.
anything else. We're going to find out. There you go.
I assume they have pits.
I assume so.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
Oh, there's a lot going on there.
Wow.
Oh, the flavor changes. I got sort of a mustard note up front, and then the heat came in mid-flavor, and now I'm getting this sort of lingering melding of that aromatic spice and heat in there. I'm gonna try this with a little rosé. You know, I thought it would be in conflict, but it's not in conflict.
Well, the rosé's got a nice bite to it.
Yeah.
A nice tartness to it. I'm not sure they. I'm not sure they're complementing each other though. They're not competing with each other.
Right, but it's not like a.
But this is
like
a more earthy,
It's very earthy.
spicy characteristic, and this has got a touch of sweetness to it, and it's bright, and so at least with this one, they don't take away from each other. I still enjoy the olive very nicely, and I still can taste and enjoy the wine, but I don't find them marrying flavor-wise in my mouth.
Yeah, I agree.
But that doesn't mean I won't have another one of these. Because they're really delicious.
They're very good. And we have 2 more wines to go through.
Yeah, so we'll have to try them.
Oh, that's very good. And these cheeses, of course, to go with it. And one of the things that's interesting is, this is one of the things that I've found over the last 6 months or 9 months that we've been doing this, is
We discovered it while doing this show.
eating nuts
Yeah.
with wine. Now, I often eat nuts with beer or with cider, but I don't often think about it with wine. But it has been a nice. Are you ready to switch? Not yet.
No,
Yeah.
we haven't talked
Crabapple.
about this wine yet.
We didn't. I thought we were talking about it.
We haven't talked about what it tastes like.
What's it taste like?
So we talked about smelling it. We didn't talk about tasting.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're doing your presentation here on how to
We do
dig in on wine.
jump around a lot. That's
a
all
little
right.
bit. Not much. Stay with us. We'll get there.
So after you swirl it, of course, the next thing is to taste it, right? Which we've been doing all along. So I'm way ahead of you. But
No, you're not way ahead of me. I poured more in mine.
I'm way ahead of the
Okay,
audience.
that.
So you've taken all that time to understand the smell. When you put it in your mouth, you're trying to connect the dots. Is what I smelled also what I'm experiencing in the taste? And or is there different characteristics in the taste that I didn't discover in the smell? And that's when you start to understand the whole wine. And you don't want to just swallow the wine. You want to chew it around in your mouth, because if you don't spend time with that wine in your mouth, you're not going to appreciate all of its flavor or its mouth feel. And of course, then you swallow the wine, and we always talk about retronasal, which when I discovered that, it was really an amazing way to really understand wines in a better
You
way.
should probably explain that for everyone.
So when your nose smells differently on the backside down in your throat than it does up front when you breathe in through the glass. So when you sip the wine and then you breathe in through your mouth and exhale through your nose, you're sending the aromas of that wine up the backside of your nose, and you perceive smell differently there. So now you have 3 different components you can put together. You have the smell when you smell the wine in the beginning, you have the taste and the mouthfeel, and then you have the retronasal, which is that last nuance that you pick out in the wine. And that put those all together, and that's how we start to make decisions about, was this a wine experience a good one or a bad one? And there's lots of things to look for. We look for mouthfeel, texture, flavor, smell, how even or consistent the wine is. Does it, is a consistency from the front of the mouth to the back of the mouth There's lots of different things that make a wine more or less appealing depending on your taste buds.
Yeah.
And there's no right or wrong answers here. Everybody has a different mouth and taste bud and experience. So it's really just about what do you discover when you go through this process? Do you discover a wine you really enjoy? And if so, why? What are the things about it that you enjoy? Or are there flaws or things about it that you don't enjoy? Yeah. And there isn't a right or wrong. No matter what wine you're drinking, no matter what the experts say, what's right or wrong is obviously what your experience is.
And that's what...
that's all that matters.
Excuse me, that's why I like the analogy of wine to music, because they go hand in hand. And we all have different tastes in music and different sorts of times and environment. And wine does the same thing. You can be in a particular situation, a particular food or mood or lighting or music that you're listening to, and a particular wine doesn't go very well. It's not satisfying. It's too harsh or whatever it is. It's like listening to really loud rock and roll first thing in the morning. For me, anyway. Some people may like that.
No,
but that would be harsh and jarring. But in the afternoon, that may be just the thing that's perfect. And wine is very much like that.
So why stop with music? When somebody pointed this out not too long ago, no, but we drink wine with all 5 senses.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
drink wine with our nose. We drink wine with our smell and our eyes, visual, our taste, our hearing. We our touch, how it feels in our mouth. So all five of our senses are aware of and making assessments of our environment. Are we cold? Are we hot?
Right.
Are we in a positive or a negative space? Are we around people that we care about or don't care about? Are we enjoying the wine with people that are enjoying it with us?
Yeah.
Or
I think
not?
that's what makes it so complex and interesting and endless. I mean, you can spend every Monday hanging out, drinking wine, talking about wine. It's endless. It's every single day. You can find yourself enjoying the nuances and characteristics of this wine. It could be the same wine in different environments, and it's always different.
Right. And that's what makes you when you're thinking about before, the more you learn about this and the more experience you have with this, as you think about what it is that you want to drink tonight, it takes time. You have to think about what am I doing tonight? Right. Who am I drinking it with? Right. What am I eating? Right. What all these variables have to play into it. And if you make the right choice, you have an amazing wine and you have an amazing evening. If you make the wrong choice, your wine doesn't taste that great. Your evening might not be as interesting as it could have been or should have been, whatever. So it is all five senses, and I think music is a major component. It's part of all of our lives. And so
that was that neuroscientist that was in here a couple weeks ago. We got into a long discussion about liquid music and how the brain lights up with music and different things. One of the things that I really like, and some of you who have come and tasted here may have heard Bob say this before, is when you're at a tasting bar and you're listening to the person describe the wine and this or that, it's easy to get caught up in the moment and the activities of things that are going on there. And unless you really focus on the wine and use all of your senses and go through that whole process of chewing the wine and thinking about the wine, you may end up being caught up in the moment and the activity and going home with a bottle of wine that's not ideal. And you always describe that to people and say, look, you need to focus on the wine here, because otherwise you may go home and you bought this wine, you knew this wine was just perfect, and you got home and you open it up and you're like, why did I buy that? Exactly. And it's because you just sipped it. Oh, I'm at a winery, I love the story, I'm going to buy a bottle of that.
Yeah, and it's happened a lot. Especially when I was younger, newer in the wine industry, I would buy.
You bought all that white Zinfandel.
I don't know that I did that, but so let's, before we go to the next wine, tell me about the food and the crabapple.
Well,
like you just took a nice big bite of that brie.
Of this brie. You should get some of that before it's all gone.
So how does it go with the wine?
I really like it. There's an earthy funk to that brie. It's perfect temperature.
I love this brie. This is out of Vermont,
soft, right? Yeah. It's just awesome. So I think it goes really well with this rosé. The other thing I tried a cranberry with it, and the cranberry is too bright, way too much.
Let's save it for the.
Well, I'm interested.
Winnipesaukee Rosé.
I'm interested to try with the rosé to see what happens. But you should try cranberry too. What do you think of the brie with that?
I like it. The touch of sweetness that comes from the crabapple balances. There's a sweetness to the cheese, and then that tart, dry finish balances with that complexity of the cheese as well.
There's a little hint of bitterness.
Is that the cheese or the bread?
The combination. I think it's the bread.
This is roasted bread. It's got some charcoal on it.
Yeah, I think it's the bread, because I had the cheese before on cracker and I didn't get that bitter note, but I do get the bitter note with the bread. And I think the bitterness is in the wine, but you don't perceive it until you have the bread. The bread's burnt character is actually bringing that out.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's interesting, as I always talk about, there is no right or wrong answer, but I do find when exploring this stuff together with other people who care about it, there are a lot of similarities. Our taste buds are not that diversely different. The chemistry that makes up who we are and our taste buds are similar. People's experiences, I think, affect the end result, but I think the chemistry in our taste buds are more similar than different, and some of that is just experience. It's just having enough opportunity to learn about and learn how to talk about it, because that's part of it. It's just how to convey the information, put a name to it or something like that. So why don't we get the next wine ready, and I'm going to check in with our audience here and see what people have been saying, because we've been kind of going on. So let's see.
How do we legally get this to be called rosé?
No, rosé just refers to the color, right?
Well, could be. The TTB has slammed us for other things, or prevented us from putting certain things on our label.
Chuck says we picked the apple after the ride.
Chuck, you weren't even there.
He says he was on the ride. You said he was on the ride.
No.
I know. I don't think.
I don't
So
think
you're right. He wasn't there.
Do you think they make
Matt says, what?
Do you think they make a mountain ready triple? Full suspension.
Oh, God, that'd be interesting, wouldn't it? So Matt says, slurp the broth, a bit of cheese, and Winnie Chaser from the olives.
Oh.
Put your nose
Slurp
right in the
broth,
glass this
bit
time.
of cheese and a Winnie Chaser. All right. I'm going to try this.
Oh, Geraldine joined us. Hi, Geraldine. Glad you could. Let's see. Matt says, put whole wheat Marxist on your list. What's whole wheat Marxist?
What are you talking about?
Matt says, put whole wheat Marxist on your list. Ken, we're trying 3 brands tonight. I'm not sure. And Chuck says he was there.
All right.
Chuck was there.
I'm glad you were there, Chuck.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Me too. Otherwise, we might not have been here. So that's the rosé. Let me get some. Did you swirl it? Smell it?
Yes, I did.
That's important, right? Immediately, as soon as you swirl it, it starts just pouring over, like water falling over the glass.
There's some similarities that apple acid character to the aroma that comes off. That's, to me, is just sort of speaks of that character. But it's a different aroma.
It's totally different.
It's a different aroma.
Different. It's almost, there's some perfuminess to it. It's like, it's just such a pleasant.
Perfumey is good. There are a couple of grapes that have a perfumey note, like Gewürztraminer.
Yeah.
That have
This
that perfumey sort of character to it. And this has a little bit of that. But it's what I've always loved about this blend is the complexity of the wine, and yet it seems really crushable, really easy drinking.
Yeah.
But it has that complexity. It's like our cider.
So in the winemaking process, how do you build in some of that complexity when you make
this? Is actually this is actually a pretty complex wine.
I know.
Yeah, it's not your standard sort of format. Are we back over here? Sorry. Good. I just didn't know. So with the crabapple wine, we crush out those apples and ferment those apples with the skins, and then it gets pressed off, kind of like making red wine.
Yep.
With this rosé, there's 3 major components to this wine. There is a fresh pressed sweet cider from Apple Hill Farm down in Concord. So that's
sweet cider versus
an heirloom cider. So this is a sweet cider. This is a Macintosh. These are known for their nice, fresh, bright flavors and good sugar content.
The apples you might find in the apple market.
Apple for eating.
For making
these are apples
for making pies.
These are apples for making
applesauce.
brandy out of. This is a high sugar content. If you ferment that on its own into a hard cider, it's pretty forgettable. There's not a whole bunch of flavor there. You need those heirloom apples with all the skins, the high acid, and the rest of it to make a really good cider on its own. And so our heirloom cider is all heirloom apples, sharps and bitters. This one has a base of a sweet cider, but obviously it's not just that. So we take a bunch of cranberries from Cape Cod. Cape Cod is world renowned for growing good cranberries. And cranberries, as you know, are bright. And we need to try this. Cranberries with our wine. Cranberries, wonderful fruit. bright, high acid, really tangy. Use them in all sorts of variety of foods, but not completely on their own because they're so strong. Usually as an additive to a bread or a cookie or a sauce for your turkey. And so there's a bunch of cranberries that are fermented, the whole fruit, the whole cranberry, the skin, the little seeds, and the cranberry itself, with that apple cider. And then there's a third component. And I talked about heirloom cider apples. Well, there's a very distinctive heirloom cider apple, highly coveted, called the Kingston Black. I love the names of these. They have like Ellis Bitter and Roxbury Russet and Dolgo. There's all these incredible.
It'd be fun to find out the history of these
names. Yeah, that was somebody who crossed something and came up with this. I'm going to call that Ellis Bitter. You know.
And as we've mentioned before, there were
thousands,
7,000 varieties of apples in the U.S. Now there's probably about 4,000.
Yeah, we all know McIntosh and Granny Smith. And
yeah,
Yellow Delicious,
so that leaves,
Red Delicious.
That leaves 6,950 more.
So the Kingston Black is a tremendous cider apple. It's a smaller apple. It has a fairly thick skin. It's a red-skinned apple with some green color to it, and pale flesh with a little bit of red fleck to it. And it's just a meaty sort of apple, and it creates great body in hard cider. Thick skin.
Yeah.
And so we get some of these Kingston Black apples from Chuck Sauer from Apple Hill Farm, and those get chopped up and thrown in with the cranberries into the sweet cider, and that all ferments together into this rosé.
And why isn't that apple appealing as an eating apple?
It's not. It's kind of dry. And when you bite into it, it's not juicy.
The skin's a little bitter.
It doesn't taste sweet, although it has pretty high sugar.
Yep.
It's got a lot of high acid and a lot of tannic bitterness from the skin. So you're like, I mean, I like to eat it, but it's like eating a Dolgo. It's not something that you're going to consume a lot of. It's not like a Red Delicious or a Fuji apple that you're going to eat the whole thing.
Well, it's kind of interesting when I remember the first time we went down to the docks in Boston and bought wine grapes. And all the way back, we were eating these wine grapes, and they were just giving us these sugar highs because it was so sweet, and the skins were so different. They're nothing at all like table grapes. When people think about grapes and they think about table grapes, that is not what a wine grape is like, not even remotely close. And just the same with a cider apple. An heirloom cider apple is not the same as an apple. It's very different. Oh, good. We're going to try olives again. I don't care whether they pair well with the wine. They're so delicious.
By the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic olives.
Cheers to Greg for this wonderful. And the bacon he sent the other day.
You know, this is a much different drinking wine than the crabapple wine.
Very different.
It was able to hold up the cranberries, but I get a bitter note coming out from the wine with the cranberries. Or not bitters.
That's
the right word. It's
I didn't.
It's like a hollowness or something.
I didn't. I had tasted it, and you were talking, so I didn't mention it.
Yeah.
I didn't like the pair.
Yeah, I didn't. It didn't go well
There's
together.
Something in
there
the
was something
end,
wrong.
Finish
Right.
that had an off flavor that didn't work.
So there's a real vinegary note to these olives. Oh, I can't wait to have these in a martini.
Oh,
because of the spice.
We should have a martini tonight.
Oh, we should do that. We're not even allowed to say that on camera. It's a winery. Sorry.
We don't drink martinis.
So it's interesting to see if this.
You know what? This definitely goes better with the rosé.
Oh, that's not bad at
than
all.
The crabapple.
Oh,
yeah. I'm seeing the connection here. And what it is? What's the
these
difference?
olives have a lot going on, and it's.
You know what? For me, it is. It's the spiciness of this is working well with the perfumey character, and I don't know if perfume is the right word.
This isn't bad at all.
It's a good combination.
This is a good combination.
Yeah.
Much better than the crabapple.
Yeah. These are delicious. I've never had olives like this before.
I've never tried it with wine directly.
Yeah.
Usually, you know, if we're at Chuck's and we're eating olives beforehand, we're drinking martini. I didn't say that. Not wine, but
Very good. And I think the pairing is nice. They work together well.
I'm happy with all. A lot going on there, Greg. Not surprised.
So this is very different from the crabapple. Similar sweet to tart profile.
So drinkable.
So you get the little sweet on the front, which balances nicely with the tart finish of the cranberries, which and probably some of the skins of the Kingston Black, bringing some of the complexity into the finish. So nice sweet tart blend, but finishes with tart, so it invites you to come back and want to drink some more. And
oh, that's interesting. Try the blue cheese with this.
we've had good luck with this blue. This is the best blue cheese I've ever had. It's amazing.
What's in this little section here?
I don't know. That's new.
Wow. What is that? I don't know what that is.
I don't know, but the blue cheese goes great. I've discovered this before. The blue cheese and the rosé are just perfect together.
What is that?
I don't know. I have to try some.
I don't really know what that is.
It looks like a honey and cheese blend.
There's honey in there.
Oh,
I
that's what it is.
didn't get the honey.
I love what our Stephanie, our new chef.
Yeah. She's rocking it.
She's rocking
She's
it.
definitely rocking it.
This is great. I don't know how she came up with this. So this is like a cottage cheese kind of character with honey.
Does that go with it?
I don't know. Yes. Yes. The honey
It does go nicely.
with the cheese,
Actually, yes.
and the cheese gives you the complexity, and the honey gives you the sweetness.
Yeah. Wow, honey and cheese.
I gotta find out more about this.
Where's this? Did she make this
I don't
by
know.
blending a couple things, or did
No.
it come from somebody?
Or it goes brilliant with
For
this
those
wine.
of you out there who don't already do this, I know many of you do, the world of food and wine together is infinite and wonderful. And
my
I
God.
encourage you all to partake as often as possible.
Absolutely. This is what makes it this full experience of the food and the wine.
Yeah.
Before you pour too much in there, we only have 4 minutes left in the show. So.
What?
I know.
What are you talking about?
We're just getting
stuff?
started. You've been doing all the talking.
Oh, I have not.
But I'm really
Did you ever
enjoying it.
finish about how to taste wine? Did we get through all that?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, good. Just make sure. All right, so we got another wine to talk about here.
Let's check in with the audience.
All right,
I'm gonna
very
switch,
good.
switch over here. So Greg says his olives go really good with Bloody Mary and very smoky bacon.
But don't say that
But don't
live.
say that live. Oh, too late.
You know, I must say that Greg rocked my world in suggesting to have bacon with Lagavulin scotch.
I know.
And
I wish I had done
it
that.
was so perfect.
I can see. I mean,
you
Lagavulin is so
your whole house
smoky
was
and-
covered with smoke.
Oh, for
from
days.
that bacon that he made.
For days.
And then with that scotch, that ashy scotch was just brilliant.
So Matt's having blue cheese with blue cheese in his olives. So
Oh,
stuff with blue
yeah.
cheese, which actually is really
Yeah.
nice. I've had that before. In my martinis too, it's actually all right. Not my favorite go-to, but every now and then I like that just to break it up a little bit. And he says it goes with all our meads, and I think I agree with that too. The blue cheese.
You know, it's rare. There's only one blue cheese I'll eat, and it's the blue cheese we have here.
I know. I'm the
I will
same way.
never, go to a party or there's blue cheese there. I just try a little sample, hoping that it's going to be another one that's really good. But
Yeah. Hey, Mark's still with us. He says we're killing it. Thanks, Mark. We appreciate that. Coming from you, of all people, that's a huge compliment.
Does that mean you're going to go skiing with us?
Yeah, maybe you will ski with us.
Well, maybe. He's busy though. He's doing it all.
He's a busy guy.
He's doing it all.
We do appreciate how busy you are, Mark. I hope to get up to see you sometime soon. I still haven't been to your new place, so
yeah.
But I've seen
Matt, Gary, all of you that are local here that come up and enjoy a good wine experience, good wine. Go see Mark. It's a fantastic place up there. And expanding soon.
Technically speaking, our hour is up, so we better drink some. We got one more wine to try.
You got to finish yours.
I can handle that.
Now this is a newer vintage. Those were both 19s. This is 20.
I haven't done 3 back-to-back rosés from our collection in maybe never like this. Never tasted these 3 wines like this.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how different they are.
Yeah.
They're each of them, and
but
I know.
You know, when we go to a brewery, and you and Chuck and I go to quite a few breweries, and
research.
And to me, we'll go to a place and we'll do a sampler or a couple of samplers, we're trying them all. And you can immediately tell a place using the same yeast for all their different beers.
It's true.
They're different colors, they're different alcohol levels,
The character and
but
style.
they all have about the same character. There's not much difference. And then you go to a different place where they're crafting each one individually, different yeast, different formats, and every beer is different.
Right.
And you're like, okay, wow. I may not care for that particular sour or whatever it is, but we know that's a unique and different beer. And one of the things that I strive to do here in crafting these wines is to have each one stand on its own and have its distinctive. Each one of these is fermented at different temperatures with different ingredients, different yeasts. They're all made in that different fashion.
They're profoundly.
And that's how they stand different, even though they're rosé.
They're profoundly different. They're all. This is entirely different. It's a whole nother experience.
Now, this I do not think would go with an olive.
No.
Just based on the aroma.
Well, we don't have enough time to even try.
Yeah.
So. No, it's got a. First of all, the amazing thing that you discover when you smell this is you think you're going to be drinking this sugar bomb.
It's not though.
It's not.
It's just sweet
Not
fruit.
at all. But
Sweet fruit aroma.
Oh, you just smell that fresh,
It's like
bright strawberry, like stick in your face in a
big
in
vat
like
of
a
strawberry.
big, not like when you buy a what do they call them when there's like 5 little pints of 6 pints in it.
There's 8 in a tray.
In a tray.
We're getting 250 of them next Monday.
I know, and you stick your face. Oh, that's what it's like. Just strawberry.
Well, that's the whole goal here.
Oh.
And this is what I love about drinking this right now is literally a few days from now, we're getting 250 flats.
It's not sweet.
Strawberries. And that's all, that balance, trying to find that balance. There is a little bit of added sugar.
Sure. Well, this is
Strawberries and rhubarb
tartness.
have that tart character to it.
Yeah. But it's such a joy when you get that bright, you're going to taste this wine, it's going to be that sweet strawberry.
Yep.
But no, it's got the nice strawberry character on the mouth, but then a nice, dry, pleasant experience.
Yeah. What I love about wine is this back of the jaw, like tang that just makes my mouth salivate. And it just washes everything down. It's just a cleansing character. If you have a sweet wine, it's too much.
Oh, yeah. You can only drink a little bit of it.
Yeah.
It's like
Perfect
dessert.
for after dinner. I mean,
Love a sweet wine.
we're going to have Sauterne. I'm all for
All
it.
for it.
All for it.
Absolutely. Try that with a walnut.
Oh. So Cody was talking about using nuts in some of the wine.
Really?
And then I said, well, we just got to find nuts that grow here. But I know there are black walnuts and other things
Yeah.
that grow around.
Yeah.
Because he
Chestnuts.
thinks that combination may be an untapped character because you get some of the tannins out of the oak in a barrel. And he
Where did you
thought
try that? I feel like I just went back to, I feel like I'm at the Thanksgiving table. There's this warm feeling of just like
It doesn't quite work for me, but I have a weird relationship with walnuts.
Oh, totally.
Flavor
This
profile.
just brings me to the holidays.
Perfect.
Right. I love it.
So we literally just spent an hour.
Yeah, more than now.
Really?
Yeah.
Is anybody out there?
There's still a few people with us. Yeah.
Hanging
Look,
on.
there's
That's
12
good.
of us. That's good. So let's switch views.
Let's
over
wrap
here.
it up.
Yeah. So this is by far your best strawberry rhubarb.
This is, what's really interesting. There's a lot going on.
There is.
Difference. And this is the first vintage where I used almost all of the green stems of the strawberries,
Which is great.
In the
Getting
vintage.
rid of those green stems.
It's a big pain in the butt. But I was worried that I would lose some of the fruity character. But I think what it's actually doing is
Adding
creating
complexity.
a better backbone, a better structure to elevate that fruit. And what I want to do with this for the first time ever is age this. This vintage, I want to stick it in the cellar for a decade and see what happens to it.
You better put it in my cellar.
I better put it in your cellar. Honey,
That's a nice
the honey cheese.
too. Yeah.
The honey cheese is the winner here. We're gonna.
I can't wait to learn more about that. That's a great idea, the honey and the cheese together. So let's see what our folks have to say before we get off. Any questions that we can answer? So let's see. Greg wants to know if these are in stainless steel.
Good question, Greg. In this vintage, the strawberry was 100% stainless steel. The rosé was 100% stainless steel in the 2019 vintage. The crabapple was about 90% stainless steel, and about 10% of it went into barrel.
Really? I didn't even know that.
I've been playing around with all sorts of stuff.
Oh,
Yeah. And,
you're always playing around.
There's
Trying to
some
keep up.
There's some French oak staves that go into the rosé and the crabapple in the stainless steel tank. No oak at all with the strawberry. So it's just pure fruit for the character coming through.
And Marika said, just as we were talking about the honey going good with this, she said, try the goat cheese with honey. So this
You're
is goat
exactly
cheese.
right. It's goat cheese.
You nailed it.
Okay. Absolutely, Marika. Spot on.
Yeah, that's a great addition to a food plate there.
This is what I think in the we recommend have goat cheese honey with I know. Beautiful dial or just ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to do that.
There's some more because we're about to end the show and we're going to have one more before we do. So again, we've spent another hour with you and then some, as we
And
always
thank
do.
you all for coming along. Greg, thank you so much for the olives. What a special treat.
Yes,
Just tremendous.
really
Thank
been
you so
great. I
much.
can't wait to meet you. I understand you're going to be here in the fall. It'll
Yeah.
be great to meet you in person and share all of what we're doing.
We're going to do some
real
damage
time.
to your cellar.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it. Can't keep it forever.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be fun.
So thank you everybody for joining us for another hour. Again, if you like what we're talking about and you want to learn more from us every Monday at 5:30, please come back. Most of our best friends do. We're good to see everybody and great questions, great comments. And until next Monday, cheers.
Cheers. That goat cheese with the honey.
That was the
That's
best.
awesome. Yeah.
I wonder if Marika's still here.
It sounds really quiet down there.
She was watching though. She couldn't have been watching in her car.
Could have been. Yeah.
Marika!
Nope.
Marika! I would have thought she would want to try some olives.
I gave olives to everybody downstairs.
Oh, good.
That's what she got. I still can't drink.
I still have to
the
put
strawberry.
a screen up there that has our schedule and everything.
That'd be good. I know. I'm planning on doing it. I can't hear whether the music's playing. Can you hear whether it's? I don't know whether it's playing. Oh, it is still playing. Yeah, you're delayed. No, that's after we stop. No, we're still live. Hmm. No, that's after we stop. There we are.